Start a career you can be proud of. Visit serve.nebraska.gov/service to find a program for you. Paid for by Serve Nebraska, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People's City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
I'm Brian. At 58, doctors told me I had the heart of a 37-year-old man. They told me that after my heart transplant surgery. If you're a smoker, here are some tips in case that happens to you. First, you have to quit smoking before you can get on a list for a transplant. So quit now. And never feel sorry for yourself. I don't. I only feel sorry for that 37-year-old man.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Welcome into The Breeze with DP and Haas on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weekends. I am Harrison Arns running the board, and we have host, as always, Haas here with us on The Breeze, as well as DP as well. Should be a good show. Plenty to talk about. It's personally, for me, my favorite time of year. Can't get enough of it. Starting next week here, it's gonna be fun. I might have to put in a sick day for that opening day, DP, as March Madness is sneaking around the corner. But how you guys doing?
Great, man. Thursday, you're right. The Thursday that's coming up is always the most fun day in sports. Thursday and Friday, the madness, the excitement. Which 5 seed's gonna lose? Is there a 16 seed that is ever going to win? Oh wait, that's already happened. Is which 15 seed? There's all the chaos, all the craziness. That's the most fun, because a one win. One game, it's not a 7-game series. Like, anything can happen in a 1-game series, and we literally see it. And so it's pretty cool. Before we talk about the NCAA tournament, though, we should talk about the Big Ten tournament. And I know last week you said, hey, the Big Ten isn't as good as it is. They're going to be the deepest team in the tournament, and they're probably going to have a 1 seed just because of the loss last night by UCLA. So they're probably going to have Purdue pencil in as a 1 seed. DP, you were there for pretty much all the tournament, so help us as a fan, as a media guy. What was it like to be in Chicago? Tell us a little bit about the tournament.
Well, first of all, Harrison, you can't take the day off because we're going to be at Buffalo Wings and Rings all Thursday and Friday, and you're going to have to be there with us.
I guess that's hardly working right there.
Right. One you'll take for the team, being fed all day, being treated well. Yeah. Chicago. We got back late last night. I kind of said that if I had planned to stay, it would be a final that I didn't want to see. And I thought, okay, if it's Purdue, Indiana, you stay. It's not. It's Purdue and Penn State, which is just weird. 10 seed. First of all, I love the loyalty of Penn State fans. They did not show up in full at first, but they showed up yesterday. Yeah, like it was like, okay, we kind of are Penn State. Like it's like we are, but we're not real sure.
We are at home because we aren't going to win our first game.
Right, like it was that kind of deal. Of course, the disappointment of having Nebraska fall to Minnesota. Great Nebraska crowd there on day one, mind you. Great crowd, great people in the building. Packed the building, which it didn't matter who was playing. The building was full from Friday on. It was full. Like, I was like, wait a minute. Everybody showed up. Everybody got along, with the exception of Iowa fans. And now I have an official reason to not root for Iowa ever. Just the fan base. Just the fan base.
That's what we've been saying, man.
Right. And I got to stand next to Zach Edey, and that is a large human being. Like, that is like just massive.
Yao Ming large?
Yeah, like he's legit. And when you talk numbers, yeah, he's legit. Well, if you told me he was 7'5", I'd believe you. But it's not that real thin seven footer. And he's a fluid 7-footer. But Purdue shoots it when Purdue shoots it well, they're 1 seed. When they're not shooting it well, they got to go down the wire against Nebraska. That's how this is going to play out for them. And you're right. The Big Ten will get a 1 seed. It may get 9 to 10 teams into the tournament. Wisconsin is the question mark today because of their inability to produce at the Big Ten tournament. But yeah, Purdue's the right player of the year and a champion in the Big Ten Conference, even if they lose today. I would imagine that they could move them down to 2, but they probably won't, just out of mental laziness. So, and then you look at the other ones, and you look at Kansas, Alabama, et cetera. It's not
Houston.
I'm just not sure that any of the ones can feel secure. I'm not that sure that anybody is just going to automatically forward all of the ones to the grade 8 and the Final Four. It's not that kind of year. Not for nothing, but if you're a 1 seed and you get stuck with Howard, you got a problem. you got a problem. Like the 16s this year and the 15s will be entirely different. So I expect a crazy tournament. I expect today to be wild. There are teams like Utah State who have stepped up and kind of put folks on notice that they're going to be a problem. San Diego State's going to jump up and snatch somebody. It's going to be – today will be interesting, tonight. And then, as far as Nebraska is concerned, we're not real sure that we're going to watch anything. Like the women might get into an invitational. The men played themselves out. So today's going to be an interesting day around the country. There are going to be some programs like Vanderbilt who are going to get their hearts broken. And the question is, does North Carolina get in? Like, that's the lead and the end. Like, does North Carolina get in? And I think they get in only because, not only because you're the defending champions and you won 20 games in a Major 5. Okay. That's the thing, right? That most fans would go write it off, but 20 wins in the ACC with a strong out of conference schedule gives you some extra points. It gives you some extra points. So, I having watched North Carolina and watched Wisconsin, if you're having that discussion, North Carolina gets in 3 votes to none over Wisconsin. That's the discussion today.
Final Four teams that make it to the championship game, yes, especially if their best player is still there. So Baycott's still there, and injuries matter. So we were talking about the ACC last week a little bit and how Duke should be a 7 seed, and I'm like, hold on a minute. If they win the ACC tournament, they'll get a 4 seed. It's a big jump. They were below the 20. They weren't in the top 25 like 10 days ago. Then 21. Then here's where I look at it. You beat a top 15 team and then another top 15 team. You are automatically a top 15 team.
That's how it works.
the ACC is, oh, they're not that good. Clemson shouldn't make it. Pittsburgh shouldn't make it. NC State shouldn't. Like, hold on, it's still the ACC. Okay, it's still the ACC, and we get excited about the SEC now, and the eye test. There's all these. Oh man, I'm about to sound old school. I'm about to sound old school. Who's gonna stop Baycott? You're right. And for Duke, Roach is back. So since Roach is back, if Duke didn't have that missed call against UVA with that home cooking, how many straight games would Duke have won? So now they have 9 straight wins after that loss in Charlottesville, and they have size, they have speed, and they've grown right before your eyes. Freshmen aren't supposed to gel this quick unless you have Paolo Banchero and Zion Williamson and so on and so forth. It takes time to gel. Well, Roach has come in and he's healthy now, and they've stabilized, and Duke looks legit. They just destroyed Virginia. Beating Virginia by more than 2 points is like a 10-point win. So beating them by 9 points is like a 20-point win. So I'm sure everyone's going to have Duke in the Final Four now, and as we say all that, they're going to lose in the first round. But they went from a 6, 7, 8 to a 4, and if I'm Houston or whoever is the West number 1, I don't want to play Duke.
Well, Houston does. Houston's looking at like that to me. The Cougars are the team that I circle because their type of play translates in March. Like when you're that elite defensively, but that's also why I'm not so easy to write off Virginia, because Virginia's going to defend you and they're going to make some people uncomfortable in how they play, right? Which is the thing, right? So if you allow a mid-level team to get up and down, you're allowing their greatness to show. If you force them into all possessions that matter, all shots that matter from difficult spots on the floor, then in March, that plays out. That always plays out. So I look for teams that defend consistently. And that's a thing that we don't give Purdue enough credit. Purdue defends. Like not many people have a Zach Edey to just clean up messes and nonsense. But what we figured out from Penn State is that Penn State is actually well coached. They're actually well coached. They're not going to beat themselves. There are teams around the country that when you watch them play, you understand that they came to brawl. Like nobody wants to play Rutgers in the first 2 rounds. Nobody does, because the stuff that you do comfortably, they're going to take away. My favorite part of the Big Ten tournament was watching how teams take the floor. And Haas understands this part of me. Harrison, I like to watch teams as they come out of the tunnel, they come out of the locker room, and their personalities have to show. And the thing that is a priority, how you come out of the locker room, and the first thing that you do is a statement of who you are. And to watch Rutgers get into closeout and ball denial defense as a part of their warm-ups, a part of their plyometrics. Oh, I would have just stood there and thrown confetti in the air, like red and silver confetti in the air, because I thought, oh, this is like, they're not the most talented offensive team. They're not. They don't score easily. They don't score often. But they defend, and I'm just like, yeah, get in somebody's shorts, man. Get in somebody's shorts. So this tournament, it'll be about matchups. Like that's the part why there's so many question marks. There's different styles of play, but we don't know who's going to get paired up against who. And until you know who's going to play each other, like forget about the seedings. Watch the pairings. The pairings are going to determine how this tournament plays out. Like you can have all 4 seeds. Imagine Duke and Virginia both being 4 seeds, but who you play is way more important than what their seeding is and what your seeding is. Like the 1 seed, the 1 through 4 just means that you're going to get 1 less dog to play. And if you need to heal up or rest or work on something, you've got a little bit more time to do it. But otherwise, no, this tournament's going to be crazy.
Yeah, DP, I like what you said there too about the defense, because that's something I scream from the top of my lungs all the time. It's in the NBA, it's in March Madness, maybe not so much high school because sometimes there's just a lack of scoring. But the best teams are usually ones that are at least in the top 5 defense, top 10, top 25, however big that bracket is. You look at the NBA Finals year after year; those teams, they're typically right up there in defense, because when you're going to the tournament, you don't got to worry about getting cold on defense. That's just something you have. And if that's your identity, you don't have to worry about losing that or going on a cold streak on defense. No, it's just part of your DNA. So that Houston team, I like them too. I mean, it's probably the most I've agreed with you guys so far on the show, but that Houston team too, they kind of remind me of Baylor when they won it with that just aggressive defense. I can't remember who was it that Baylor played. It was such a blowout. I mean, Baylor took them out of the game. Was it Illinois?
Think so.
In the championship game, because I just remember they blew them out immediately. Just on defense, you could tell the other team didn't have a shot. Like Baylor was just on top of them from the start, and defensively, they just totally took the game.
Maybe Illinois was the Final Four.
I think they were Final Four. I don't think it was Illinois.
Final Four. They were Final Four. And
Hoss, it's those teams. This is where we start to identify length, because length matters in the tournament. Length, like that's an advantage. Their teams give the Southeast Conference a pat on the back for their ability to identify that length creates problems outside of your normal circle, like people that you don't normally face. Can you get your hand in the way of a passing lane? Can you get your fingertips on a loose ball? If you fail in a blockout, can the length correct the mistakes that are made? And then the athletic ability that goes with that length. So the teams that show up now that have that length, Baylor's at the top of that list of Houston. Those are the teams that are long across. It's difficult. It's difficult for you to cross, to throw entry passes into the middle. They make it difficult for you to go cross court. You have to put some air on the ball just to get around all the long, the rubber, the Inspector Gadget arms that are all over the field, all over the court. So, yeah, I think, and Hoss is right. End of season play matters. Like end of season play matters. That means that your freshmen aren't freshmen anymore. Your reserve players have figured out how to do what they do well consistently. Like that's the difference between players 6 through 10 on any given roster. Does 6 through 10 know when they're put in the game what they do well and what their responsibility is? Like, just don't get out there as a lockdown defender and then have to knock down threes. That's a good calculation for you to fail. This is what the tournament is today. Yeah.
In the words of The Rock, know your role.
Yeah.
That's the rest of it. You got to know your role. And if you do your job, the best teams do what they're supposed to do, as in the number 6 guy is supposed to come in and make a couple threes and not turn the ball over. Do your job. And so those that don't go outside of the realm of their skill set, those are the teams that win. So defense is number 1. Shooting is the next most important thing, because teams are going to play defense. You're going to have to be able to score. And I know we talked about UVA and Purdue and Houston and all their defense. Hey, Duke just gave up 17 points and a half in an ACC championship game. And the way they were playing defense, and this is a lesson for everyone who's coaching basketball and youth basketball. Our AAU season starts on Thursday, and the explanation of just having a hand here on defense, shooting the ball with a hand here on defense, just contesting and bothering significantly reduces the shooting percentage I know the NBA is different, but in college it does it. In high school it definitely does it. And in youth sports, it obviously does it because these kids are barely practicing shooting, let alone shooting contested shots or shots in the wind because we're shooting everything in a nice gym now. And so there's no difficulty with shooting. So if we add a little bit of friction, in the words of DP, that significantly reduces the shooting percentage. So we don't need to foul. We don't need to go for steals. We just need to just get a little bit of hand in the face. And so what Duke did last night, they were low, they were in the right stance, and they contested and then they boxed out. And that's defense. And if
they're becoming a new Duke. They're becoming a new Duke right before our eyes. In that you're not a Coach K Duke team. Like the new Duke is happening right now. And again, if you're trying to replace Bobby Knight or John Wooden by being them, you're going to fail. The great transition is for places like Duke to figure out what it is that they want to be in the new version, new types of players, and then recognizing that your players are different than they were 10 years ago. You're recruiting a different athlete to Duke. You're recruiting an NBA target at Duke. So you got to coach them differently and then hope that they get all on the same page for 8 games. That's like get through both tournaments, get on the same page for 8 games. And it's not easy to do. It's just not.
Well, what helps is losing. So losing allowed them to put their pride aside, and it's like, look, we're the number 1 recruiting class, and we're better than everyone. No, we're not. We're losing. We are not even a top 30 or 40 team. So what do we have to do differently to succeed? And what to do differently is go to the fundamentals. I don't need steals. I don't need blocks. I just need to be a fundamental basketball player and do the right thing, make the one extra pass on offense, shoot open shots on offense. But on defense, again, I don't need to pad my stats. I need to be more like Alex Caruso and just be there.
So lame. So lame. It's so lame. It's so lame. It really is. But here's what it is to listen to a really good NBA defensive coach. And I know those words don't often go together, but really good NBA defensive coaches will talk about your job defensively is to end the possession. To end the possession. In whatever way you can end the possession on your terms. Without the ball going through the net, end the possession. And if sometimes that's with a sloppy ball handler taking it away from them, sometimes it's getting a fingertip on a pass to make them reset. Sometimes it's allowing them, taking away a good shot to make them take a tough shot. And then sometimes it's boxing out and getting a rebound. Whatever way that needs to be done in college, especially for the tournament, teams like Northwestern can do those things. That's why I know their last time into the tournament, they got a pretty decent run because they weren't turning the ball over and they were accepting turnovers. Teams like St. Mary's, Gonzaga, these are teams that make a run because they don't do dumb stuff to themselves. Like that, like you can be more talented than they are and you can run a sweeter system than they do. But what they're going to do is take shots that they know how to take and make. And then defensively, they're going to get in your playbook and they're going to take away something that you do regularly and consistently. They're going to take away those things. Regular and consistent. Whatever you do, regular and consistent, I'm going to take that away and make you beat me with a lesser talent. That's March Madness basketball.
Assist to turnover ratio.
Yeah, Haas, I'll let you wrap up here and then we got to go to break.
Assist to turnover ratio is something that we've talked about. And looking at the NBA, there's teams that used to have 20, 25, 30 turnovers. And I'll point to my shirt. And then they made changes. And turnovers really cause a double effect. They make the other team get an easy basket, and they take away baskets from you. So it's a compounding mistake when you have turnovers. I'd rather you punt the ball out of bounds than give a turnover. So that's what defense does, and the teams with the most turnovers, they'll be sent packing just because the other team's going to go running, and they'll go on a 10-0 run because of the turnovers.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, though, we got to put a pin on it. We still got near about 45 minutes left here. We're going all the way up until 1 o'clock on the Breeze with Haas, DP, and Harrison. We'll be back in a little bit here just after this break.
I wanted to quit for so long, but I didn't know where to start.
I was afraid of what people would think, but then I found the right support to start my recovery journey. 1 in 14 Americans reports experiencing a substance use disorder, a treatable medical condition. Treatment can take many forms, so there are a variety of options to explore and find the one that works best for you. Recovery from drug addiction is possible.
Paid for by the CDC, sponsored by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
They are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, call 988 for free, confidential, and compassionate support. On July 16th, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is transitioning to 988. There is hope. For 24/7 support, call, text, or chat 988.
Sponsored by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is how we do every day. We be grinding, and if you want to come and text us,
if you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music.
This is Mommy's jam.
Then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I always had to be so good, no one could ignore me. Carve my path with data and drive. But some people only see who I am on paper. The paper ceiling, the limitations from degree screens to stereotypes that are holding back over 70 million stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time for skills to speak for themselves. Find resources for breaking through barriers at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner, or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat, or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Bank Strong, and the Ad Council.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take, but it gave my mom and me more time to plan together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Nebraska State Veterans Homes are here to serve veterans, their spouses, surviving spouses, and Gold Star parents. Join your fellow veterans and their families at one of our homes in Bellevue, Kearney, Norfolk, or Scottsbluff. With a sliding scale to determine your financial contribution, an excellent clinical team, and plenty of fun activities, our homes are the perfect retirement choice. Learn more at veterans.nebraska.gov/homes. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're listening to The Breeze with DP and Haas on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weekends. I am Harrison Arns running the board, and we have the host of The Breeze, Haas and DP, here with us as well. And again, we're going all the way up until 1 o'clock. And if you haven't caught any of the shows yet, you can catch all the podcasts at ticketfm.com. It's been a great morning so far. Pete Ferguson, Hebron, and G. Gottner, and Libby, a couple scholars. And then we had Fitness Fanatics. They're doing lots of cool things for people with disabilities over at Farrell. So a really great pairing of shows this morning. And again, the show continues on, but you can catch all that at ticketfm.com. And Haas, I'll throw it to you after kind of setting the table.
So obviously March Madness is the biggest thing, and excited to see the bracket come out. And I want to talk about that, but the NBA, a lot's happened since the All-Star break. And so we talked about the NBA a little bit last week. We got into the weeds, and I loved it. So the West is always the best. But right now, I think the three best teams might actually be in the East. And people aren't really talking about that. So people aren't talking about the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Celtics. And I purposely said Celtics third because I'm a diehard Laker fan. Is there anyone in the West that scares you guys? Is there anyone in the West that is the odds-on favorite? Which teams are the top teams? Because it's very jumbled. And I would say with Ja out and Sacramento being tied for second, like who really is the team to fear? I know who I have, and I'm sure DP is going to say one of those teams. But who do you guys have as the teams to fear in the Western Conference?
Everybody. It's what the NBA wanted, was to have more programs, more organizations actually be a factor in it. Now, when you're talking playoff basketball in the NBA, you're talking a different kind of basketball than, say, NCAA tournament or NBA regular season. It's a different game. Now, the easiest thing to defend is a system that you know, personnel that you know, tendencies that you know. The two teams where those tendencies aren't known, Sacramento and Dallas. You don't know how to defend them. You don't know what they're going to do defensively. You don't know who they're going to rely on in crucial moments in April, May, June. So if you're planning, you have a pretty good idea about what the Golden State Warriors would do. You have a pretty good idea about the Clippers. You have a pretty good idea about everybody, about Denver. You know who they're going to go through and how, and why. But if you're game planning for a 7-game series against Sacramento, what are your keys? What are you basing your attack on? What do you have to shut down in those critical moments? Because those series are about critical moments. Like, what do you do in the 4 possessions that matter most? And if you don't know what your opponent is going to do, you are at a disadvantage. Check the box for Sacramento and Dallas, because now you've got 2 legitimate playmakers, 2 legitimate break down the wall guys in Dallas. And for Sacramento, that's a team. That's a team that makes team decisions each possession. None of what they do is set for one player to get off. It's set for whatever the opponent is going to give us, we're going to take and then make them pay. So those would be the 2 teams for me.
I'm surprised you didn't throw Suns in there. I'm just
Not
looking
yet.
at Huh?
Well, yeah, but they're the favorites, right?
Well, KD's hurt, so I don't know what to say about them.
Well,
no
46.
KD there.
Well, I mean, but aren't they the favorites?
Yeah, I thought we're talking favorites here. I think the Suns. I mean, I will tell you this: the West it's loaded. You like the Denver Nuggets, but the thing that scares me, it's 1-5. What they're going to bully whoever playing point guard at the time. they're going to keep trying to get Jokic on mismatches. That 1-5 switch, that's what they look for every single playoff with the Nuggets, and they've had the Joker. That's what gets them out. They hunt that thing throughout the entire game. So that's the only thing that concerns me about them is they haven't been able to figure that out. That 1-5 switch that just constantly gets Jokic in trouble, keeps him off the glass, just really hurts his game overall. And then looking at the Suns, that's just one where it's hard to imagine how that team can be stopped. You're looking at Devin Booker,
Don't play Dallas.
Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant. No, that's a good one. That's a fair one. But without KD, I'd like to see KD in the mix. But you're putting arguably one of the best playmakers the game's seen, not all time, but one of the best in Chris Paul, who everywhere he's been, that team performs extraordinarily better when he was on that.
Playoffs.
Hey, we need 2
No,
hours.
Finals. There's a difference. He's been pretty thorough in the playoffs. In the finals is where that hamstring tightens up a little bit.
Each round has gotten earlier and earlier for him in the last couple of years because he's just getting older. And
But you throw Kevin Durant in the mix, and then you have Devin Booker. I mean, Chris Paul. I mean, you could be your average Joe point guard, and you're going to be having an easy time playmaking with that group of guys. So I look at the Suns, and I know a lot of people, ever since Chris Paul had that blowout loss to the Mavericks last year, I mean, absolute blowout, just really been a hard time for them to really capture everyone's eyes again. But I'm not – that's a team I'm not writing off. Oddly enough, same thing with the Warriors, as much as I don't like to say it. It's just how are you going to write them off? Steve Kerr is way too good at what he does. He's got a group of guys that know exactly what system they have, and they're still one of those offenses that's a little more unique than everyone else. Pretty much everyone does the same thing now. You can even listen to the Charlotte head coach talk about it after one of their games and how they plan defensively. It's all pretty much the same. There's very little things differentiating team to team. So a team like the Warriors that does have a few wrinkles that other teams don't, I think they'll continue to prove problems. But, I mean, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I think the Kings is going to be a team where they got to take their bumps and bruises before they can get over the hump. That's the only thing keeping me back is experience. But, I mean, that's who I got, Haas. How about you?
So the first team I thought DP would have said would have been the Warriors. The Warriors being the defending champs, getting back most of their team now. So they were a pretty decent unit without Curry. They're still missing Wiggins. Not sure how long he'll be out with personal reasons. But they are a collective unit with Klay Thompson finally starting to look like 2017 Klay Thompson. So he's a little bit of the old Splash Brother. And then you add in Poole, who really imitates them. I forget the drama between him and Draymond, but they have so many weapons on offense, and DiVincenzo's come in and done his job. So I would not count out the champs.
But I mean, isn't that assumed though, Haas?
No, I want to know who's coming out of the West.
Well, if you say who I'm afraid of,
yeah,
right, it's the unknown. But if you ask me what I'm betting on, well, to quote the legendary philosopher Richard Fleer, to be the man, you have to beat the man. And the man is still Golden State. Like, it doesn't matter if Denver beats the Suns or the Mavericks beat the Kings. All the while, as long as there's breath in them, Golden State's the thing that you have to topple in playoff basketball. For everybody. Even folks in the East are trying to figure out, well, what do we do if we get over here and face these dudes? Because it changes everything you do. You can't defend the way you normally do. You can't attack defensively the way you normally do. And you understand that you have to manage runs in the game differently against Golden State than you do anybody else you're going to face. So, yeah, Golden State's, I mean, even if they're the bottom seed, I would imagine that a third of the brackets that'll be filled out with Golden State making the playoffs will have Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, no matter who they run up against, because they provide that knowledge, that experience, that what we do in this situation they already know. Now, who's most likely to get there to face them? It's probably Phoenix. It's probably Phoenix, and I would imagine that. Well, but we don't know.
Should be back. I think.
Yeah, I mean, if he's on the floor to shoot shots, Phoenix is a threat.
Of course, they're
a
favorite
threat.
if Durant's healthy. They're the favorite.
He doesn't have to be healthy. If he's healthy, they win it. If he's on the floor, they're a threat because he takes additional pressure off of CP3 and Booker. Like him just standing out on the wing, popping open threes, makes Phoenix one of the top 4 teams in the league. Just him being on the floor, but him being healthy puts him at the top. Like, oh, nobody really wants to have to deal with this over the course of 7 games. Nobody does.
So we're in consensus that Denver, despite the thing that Denver has going for them is their incredible home record. They always do well because of the altitude, and people always have a hard time acclimating. I'm curious in a 7-game series how that changes because people are there for longer and so on and so forth.
Well, they figured it out.
Yeah,
it's been figured out. That's why Denver's been outed for the last 3 years.
But they're such a great regular season team because people are just traveling there, they're tired, and then they play, and then they can't handle the altitude. Fine. That's why Denver's so good at home.
Yeah.
Denver's healthy. Denver has weapons. Denver has probably a 3-time MVP. But even then, if the Lakers make a top 8 seed, meaning they make the playoffs, I know I'm a Laker fan. I know I'm biased, but they've been beating really good teams lately because of their trades, and they were doing it without D'Lo and without LeBron. They play defense 1 through 5 now. D'Lo doesn't play defense, but he doesn't need to. Vanderbilt is a dude. I don't know how he's been traded multiple times, but that dude plays defense. He does. He gets a lot of boards, and he's long. And so you add him. You have Beasley, who could shoot and play defense. We don't need Caruso anymore because we got Reeves, who does everything Caruso did. AD only scored 8 points the last game, and they still won. And that's because they have all these dudes now that actually make threes. They had a roster that couldn't make a shot before, and they were all 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". And now, other than Schroeder and D'Lo, the Lakers have height, and they play defense. And how do you go from being like the 23rd, 24th best team in defense to the top team defensively in such a quick span? Well, you just change your roster. They are significantly better if you watch them on defense. They're a completely different team.
I'll give you that. They look way better.
Harrison, do you agree with they're the best defensive team in the league?
No. I mean, the rankings right now might sit there, but
in the last 2-3 weeks they are.
Absolutely, I'm saying overall, that's not going to hold up. Like if you take that whole sample size and stretch it out for 82 games, there's no way. Not with that roster.
What's wrong with the roster?
I just don't think they're that good defensively to hold up that run for that long. I think now they're clicking and humming, but you take that over 82 games, I don't know.
Well, yeah, the reason why you can't take it over 82 games is AD just every time he jumps and lands, I'm worried he's going to get hurt.
Just said that you just did that with KD. You can't now do the opposite end of the spectrum with the same thinking. No, who's been hurt more, AD or KD?
Both.
Okay, so then have the same conversation about them. They're the same players, bruh.
He's here. He's playing tonight.
But then he could be out for the next 6 weeks because he tripped and stubbed a toe tonight in the warm-ups. It's this with AD on the floor, the Lakers are a different organization.
Correct.
We get that. But we don't know whether he stays on the floor. We don't know what he's going to do. Is he going to stay on the floor against Joker? Is he going to defend him for 7 games? Is he going to take that pounding? No, he's not. He's not.
I remember him getting hurt against Denver, and the Lakers won that game. I think he got hurt in the first couple minutes. So, and that was with the bad roster.
I will say this: if we're going to look at all the teams with the rosters as they stand, with available players, Harrison, who has the most talented roster versus who's the best team? There's a difference between everybody would trade either their rosters for either Phoenix or the Lakers. Every team in the league would trade their roster for either the Lakers roster or the Suns roster. Harrison, am I right or wrong in that?
Yeah, you're right.
The results are different.
What am I saying wrong about the Lakers defense? So right now, they know how to guard guards, they know how to guard posts, they know how to guard wings. They couldn't do that before. The Lakers' identity.
Doing it in March doesn't matter. Doing it in early March doesn't matter.
I know it doesn't, but they could have easily just look. A week ago, they were the 13 seed. They could have easily just folded and been out.
You giving them credit for doing what they should have been doing all along. That's the problem with the team, is that they're not doing what they're supposed to do on a regular basis because it's the right thing to do. They're doing it because they've been painted into a corner from their own doing. They put themselves there. Their flaws put themselves there. Yeah, you changed the roster, but the core has been the same. AD and LeBron allowed this to happen. They allowed this to happen. This is on them. They got to paint their way out. They haven't done. I'm not giving them credit because they went on a 6-game run of doing the things they should have been doing all along.
And I'm not giving them credit, to be clear. I'm frustrated. I keep saying trade LeBron, because he's the greatest scorer of all time, and so on and so forth.
No.
Everyone loves LeBron. I'm wearing a LeBron shirt.
Yeah.
The Lakers are better without LeBron.
No,
they're
not.
Without LeBron.
They're not. They're literally not.
They're
literally not.
Let's nail your point why, because that's a big statement. Nail your point why before we go to break.
They look at him, they don't play defense, they don't try, and he forces bad shots. Now, they actually play as a team, they're gelled, they play defense, they get the ball to the right people at the right time. And LeBron is, I don't know if he's become a stat patter, but he's not the same LeBron.
Harrison, we'll go to break with this. That Haas Tabrizi, the GM, prefers a team without LeBron James. Put that on his resume. That Haas Tabrizi, the GM, the basketball guru, thinks that a team would be better without LeBron James. Make that happen.
Give me someone who will play defense, will make threes, because he can't make free throws. That guy all his free throws.
TicketFM.com. We'll be back right after this break.
So good, no one could ignore me. Carve my path with data and drive. But some people only see who I am on paper. The paper ceiling, the limitations from degree screens to stereotypes that are holding back over 70 million stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time for skills to speak for themselves. Find resources for breaking through barriers at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what I have done to start this foundation.
In August 2020, after the death of George Floyd, Bridget Floyd and other family members established the George Floyd Memorial Foundation in support of the Black community.
It's going to take more than just us as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to make a change.
Fight for racial justice for the Black community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
They are our love bugs and companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life better. When we face unexpected challenges, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people and their pets. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Reading may be the most valuable skill your child will ever learn. And research proves that when children read outside the classroom, they do much better in school. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. It's easy to picture yourself reading with a young child curled up in your lap, but don't forget about your older children. They also need encouragement to read. So set aside some time to read together and help your child achieve and succeed.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
I think it's just vapor. Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as 1 pack of cigarettes.
My kid
knows it's dangerous. 5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
March is a month of good luck. From epic runs in state basketball to watching Cinderella spring the upset in college basketball. And of course, St. Patrick's Day. Luck is on your side at Mullen Motors too, because their lot is full of great vehicles to take home. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride, as summer road trips are just around the corner. Your luck starts this month at Mullen Motors.
No tagline, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
You're listening to The Breeze with DP and Haas on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weekends. I am Harrison Arns running the board. We have host Haas and DP as always. And again, if you guys want to join the show, start our Heyman text line 402-464-5685. Apparently, we had a little bit of outage, so sorry if you missed it. We're probably out of air for about 4 minutes there. The tech guy right here is working on it right now, so we're back and rolling. So again, I think it was over the ad, so you probably didn't miss too much if you did. But there was a comment that came in over the break. John and Cortland, he said, all right, and Haas, this is to you. Now, the Lakers can only be better without LeBron on the floor if and only if they have someone better to replace him with. Cortland out. So that's kind of his mindset. You got to have someone. I mean, you want to continue to elaborate on this road?
I wanted to talk about wrestling.
All right, we can do that.
But look, I'll say this about LeBron. LeBron is not the same 2016 LeBron. If you watch him game in and game out, he's not that same dude. And it's for what he's doing at 38, yes, it's amazing, but it's not the same dude. So I'm curious what he'll do with this roster with people that could shoot. Maybe he will be the same dude. Maybe he will play defense. But he's the one who's getting picked on in the quote-unquote 1-5 pick and roll that you're picking on Jokic. They're picking on LeBron now. Every play they're picking on LeBron because he couldn't play defense. Now, maybe he's saving all his energy for offense. Maybe he's so injured. I don't know what it is, but the games that I'm witnessing with LeBron is not the same king. It is just a facade. That's all I'm trying to say. He's not like Giannis. And I know the players are saying LeBron's the best player in the NBA. He's not playing like Giannis. He's not playing like KD. He's not playing like Embiid. He's not playing like Jokic. They're different positions. I get it. He's not playing like Luka. That's all I'm saying.
I will say, in the one time where I would agree with you in this case was when they had Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, a few other young guys, and it was really hard for the young guys to find an identity because you really wanted BI to be your main scorer, obviously for a while, and then they got LeBron, and that kind of pushed Brandon Ingram into a unique position that he wasn't comfortable playing. And then obviously the whole trade happens. Those guys get sent off to New Orleans. LeBron gets 80 and they win a ring. So that's one where it was more of the guys around LeBron. But at this point in his career, I think it should work. You have 3-point shooters around him, and that's all you've been begging for. And now you finally have it. So I'd be surprised if it gets worse with him on the floor.
Leave that man alone.
I just want him to play defense.
Like we get, okay. So he's 38. He's played more minutes and more meaningful games than anybody in recent history, and he's 38. You know what? If you need to take some possessions off in February and January, okay. Like that's how simple that is. Like I like the fact that the Lakers made changes, and I like the fact that they're edging back into being relevant and part of the NBA conversation again, and that they could be a factor and a threat if they get into the playoffs. But the reality is that's because of LeBron. Because without LeBron, that team is playing for the lottery. Period. Point blank. Nobody cares. LeBron kept you relevant and kept you in contact. And as much fighting as he's done, that's what he was fighting for, to make this season have meaning and value. And that's exactly what it's done.
Started the season 2-10. LeBron played.
That ain't got nothing to do with it. That's why you play 82. That's why you play 80 plus games. That's why.
I just think now you have what everyone's been screaming from the top of their lungs. This is what works around LeBron. This is what we need to get. Now you finally have it. So I'd be so surprised if he comes back out there and it's just a losing skid. But we can hop off that subject. So we've got a little bit of time here. You got like a couple minutes. I know it's not a lot, but if you want to kind of get in your wrestling here.
So, DP, with I think the way the show's written, the main events are settled for WrestleMania. So Sunday night, it's Cody and Roman Reigns. I think that's pretty obvious. And then the Saturday night main event, I'm pretty sure is the Bloodline battle with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, tag team titles, or maybe they add another person. Maybe they add Solo and Stone Cold and make it a 6-man match, whatever. But that's going to be the other main event. What are the two matches that open the shows? Is it both women's matches, and which one goes on which night?
I don't know that they've. I would open with Cena.
Okay.
I would open with Cena.
Okay.
You'll get a pop. People will care because they want him to beat Austin Theory. They want him to win. Putting the women, if you put Belair first, you're asking for her to be outside of her normal space and for her to do things athletically that she's not going to want to do for an opening match. So I would either or, Belair or Cena, I'm okay with for either of those.
I have Flair going first.
Pause real quick here. Let me play this legal ID quick, and then I'll play the outro music, and we can get out of here.
For sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth. 93.7 The Ticket.
All right, go ahead.
I have Flair going first. It's Flair. It's Ripley. You have the SmackDown main event, kind of. If you want, I don't even know what to call the Reigns match. He's more of a SmackDown champion, so maybe you don't put the SmackDown Women's Championship on the same night. So I think Flair Ripley is the match I'd rather see, but you open my eyes. So it's a Hollywood pay-per-view. It's a Hollywood WrestleMania. Well, then you need to have your most Hollywood guy, since The Rock's not there, open the show. So that's actually a pretty cool point. But next for me is Flair, though, because Flair is actually the man. So
absolutely, we'll put a pin on it here. But again, thanks again for listening. It's been a great Sunday so far. You can catch all the podcasts at theticketfm.com. There's been a lot of great shows. Appreciate Haas and DP for stepping in, as always, on the breeze. And it's been a great day so far, and try to enjoy the rest of your Sunday. But don't forget, there's still ticket weeknights later tonight. So be sure to tune in for that as well, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
This is Jay Foreman. When I played football,